Welcome to PatchLog. This week, tech moved fast on three fronts that are worth your full attention. Amazon dropped $11.5 billion to own a satellite company, and quietly rebranded its whole internet constellation in the process. Anthropic shipped Claude Opus 4.7, and a landmark Stanford report confirmed what many suspected. AI is being adopted faster than any technology in human history. And Snap just laid off 1,000 people and put AI in the press release. 5 stories, let's get into it. Amazon announced this week it's acquiring Globalstar, the satellite operator, for approximately $11.57 billion in cash or stock. If the name Globalstar rings a bell, it's probably because it's the network behind the emergency SOS satellite feature on iPhones, and that's not a coincidence. Because Amazon also announced a partnership with Apple to power satellite connectivity for future iPhones and Apple Watches. So Amazon is buying the company that already powers Apple satellite features, and then partnering with Apple to go deeper. That's a significant double move. The acquisition is a major accelerant for Project Kuiper, Amazon's answer to SpaceX Starlink, which has been slowly building out a low Earth orbit satellite internet constellation. Amazon also quietly rebranded Project Kuiper to Amazon Leo this week, which signals a bigger ambition. This is being positioned as foundational Amazon infrastructure, not a side project. Getting Globalstar adds existing spectrum licenses, ground infrastructure, and critically, an established Apple relationship. This is Amazon making a serious bet that satellite internet is infrastructure, the same way cloud computing looked niche in 2006 and became the backbone of the internet by 2016. The Apple angle especially is worth watching. If Amazon becomes the backbone for iPhone satellite connectivity, that's a strategic foothold into a relationship with the most valuable consumer hardware company on Earth. SpaceX's Starlink currently has the lead in consumer satellite internet, but Amazon just got a lot more serious about closing that gap. Anthropic released Claude Opus 4.7 this week, describing it as making improvements on the most difficult tasks. It's the latest model from the company behind Claude, which, according to this week's Stanford AI Index report, now leads all AI models in performance rankings as of March 2026. The gap at the top is razor thin though, just a 2.7 percentage point advantage over the nearest competitor, which tells you how fiercely contested this race has become. Opus 4.7 continues Anthropic's pattern of incremental but meaningful improvements focused on hard reasoning tasks rather than flashy benchmark chasing, which has been their signature approach since day one. The release also comes at an interesting moment for Anthropic. The company is reportedly in the middle of a $3.5 billion funding round. Has been navigating political headwinds after the Trump administration reportedly flagged them as a supply chain risk earlier this month, and yet none of that appears to be slowing their shipping cadence. The pace of model releases across the industry right now is remarkable. 2 years ago, a new frontier model from a top lab would hold the top spot for 6 months. Today it might hold it for 6 weeks. Opus 4.7 will be competitive immediately, but the clock is already ticking on how long that lasts. Google, OpenAI, and xAI are all shipping fast. The AI leaderboard in 2026 is less a podium and more a conveyor belt. Stanford University published its annual AI Index report this week, and it's packed with data worth sitting with. The headline finding: people are adopting AI faster than they adopted the personal computer or the internet. That's not a figure of speech. The adoption curves literally move steeper on the chart. The report also reveals that a record 150 AI-related bills were passed by U.S. state legislatures in the last year, with California mandating AI safety disclosures and New York passing legislation requiring AI companies to publish safety protocols. So regulation is finally catching up, at least at the state level. On the compute side, 5 hyperscale companies, Google, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, and Oracle, now control 2/3 of the world's compute capacity. That level of concentration is worth pausing on. 2/3 of the infrastructure that runs modern AI is owned by 5 companies. The index also confirms something the PwC report said separately this week. AI's economic gains are flowing very unevenly, with a small number of companies capturing most of the value. What the Stanford Index paints overall is a picture of a technology that is simultaneously becoming more capable, more concentrated, more regulated, and more embedded in everyday life, all at the same time, all at speed. If you want one document that captures where AI actually stands in 2026, this is it. The full report is linked in the description below. Snap CEO Evan Spiegel announced this week that the company is eliminating approximately 1,000 roles and closing over 300 open positions, a 16% reduction in total headcount. The stated reason: AI advancements have made many repetitive roles unnecessary. Here's the part that gets buried in most coverage. Snap is not a company in trouble. Snapchat has over 850 million monthly active users. This is a growing business making a deliberate, calculated choice to replace human labor with AI automation, not a struggling company cutting to survive. The roles most affected are in operations, content moderation, and customer support, the back-office functions that keep a platform running at scale. Spiegel framed it as efficiency. Critics will frame it as the beginning of a pattern. The honest answer is that it's probably both, and neither framing fully captures what's happening. What Snap's announcement represents is something we've been warned about for years, but are only now seeing in concrete press releases. A major profitable tech company publicly crediting AI for headcount reductions. This is not the last announcement like this you will hear. Every consumer tech platform runs on layers of repetitive human labor that is increasingly automatable: moderation, support, data labeling, QA. The question isn't whether AI will compress those workforces. It's how fast and how transparently companies will say so. TSMC, the Taiwanese company that manufactures the chips inside basically everything you care about, reported first quarter profits up 58% year-over-year this week. Revenue came in at $35.7 billion, beating every forecast, and the CEO stated that AI demand remains robust going into the rest of 2026. We covered TSMC's revenue growth last week, but the profit figure is the more interesting number this time. Revenue up 35%. Profits up 58%. That gap tells you TSMC's margins are expanding, not just their top line. When you are the only company in the world capable of manufacturing the most advanced chips at scale, you have extraordinary pricing power. TSMC is essentially a toll booth on the AI highway, and right now every major technology company on Earth is driving through it as fast as they possibly can. The broader semiconductor supply chain is confirming the same story. ASML, the Dutch company that makes the machines TSMC uses to make chips, also raised its 2026 outlook this week, citing accelerating customer demand tied to AI. The picks and shovels of the AI gold rush are posting record numbers across the board. If you ever want a ground truth check on whether AI infrastructure spending is real or hype, just watch TSMC's quarterly numbers, because you cannot fake a 58% profit surge by talking about AI on an earnings call. The money is flowing, and it's flowing into physical silicon. 5 big ones this week: Amazon going to space with $11.5 billion, Anthropic shipping Claude Opus 4.7, Stanford's data on how fast AI is actually spreading, Snap's AI-driven layoffs, and TSMC posting record profits. Drop a comment telling me which story you think matters most in 5 years. I genuinely read every one. If you're not subscribed yet, hit the button so you don't miss next week's drop. That's your patch log for this week.